Welcome back to another episode of the Muse, where we talk about any and creative. I'm your host, Nasim.
And Ezra.
And today, we're talking about something very special to both of us. What is a masterpiece? This guy's going to get some hot takes.
I mean, actually, I don't know when I said it was special to me, but it is today. So what do you consider a masterpiece for you? Like, just off the top of the dome.
Off the top of the dome, when I first think about masterpiece, I think about a lot of things that have to do with music as well as cinema. But, you know, like, it's in the hip-hop community as well. We're like, oh, bro, that album a masterpiece? Is that album a masterpiece? Yeah. And I definitely think an album, to me, that's definitely a masterpiece is Drake, Take Care. That's definitely a masterpiece. Probably isn't a masterpiece to you, but a lot of people go back to their art, go back to that album and get a lot of inspiration.
Well, I feel like a masterpiece is their best work in their lifetime of creating, and also something that's very, well, it really depends. Like, I feel like that's the base, cut and dry definition, but
their best work
in it, yeah.
But also, I think a masterpiece.
That's usually what a masterpiece is considered.
I think a masterpiece has to do a lot with how did it change.
That's what I'm about to say next.
Okay,
I'm saying like they're the first cut and dry, but I also do believe it is about impact in the community, because, for instance, a lot of art pieces, like in fine art, that's considered masterpieces. They have impacted the art community a lot, because that's what that's the main things you learn about in school. Yeah, where they caused whole entire art movements. So
you would say again from the top what we say a masterpiece is.
I would say that a masterpiece is their best work in their lifetime and most influential that affects the genre that they're creating in.
And creates a lot of impact.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, bro, like, I definitely think that's fully true. And we look at a lot of things when we look deep into just art history and things like that when it comes down to exploring different ideas of art or exploring different techniques of art. That's where you go to study these masterpieces, because they definitely did create certain patterns that lead towards success.
I mean, it's hard. I feel like it's really hard to say something's a masterpiece before their time is up.
Yeah.
Because, once again, a lot of artists don't be like, oh, that's a masterpiece, that's a masterpiece. They see this is like their masterpiece. Like the Mona Lisa, their masterpiece. Starry Night, their masterpiece. Water Lilies, masterpiece.
I see. But I don't know, bro. It's about basically, so you think they gotta die for it now to be considered a masterpiece?
Low key. Because I feel like, yes, you can have multiple masterpieces, but I do feel like it's kind of downplaying. I think it has to be that singular thing in your whole entire career as a creative. Now, don't get me wrong. I do believe people can have consider their masterpiece at their time, but I definitely think like once something outdoes that, I think there's another one.
I don't know, bro. Like, that's a very interesting take. I just think that, like, when it comes to a masterpiece, I think you have more than one. As well as, I think that it's just that piece, how that piece stand alone by itself. How does it stand the test of time? Yeah. Because time is what considers something a masterpiece or not. We don't consider anything a masterpiece. It's what time considers. So the thing is going on for so long, and we're always thinking about it. We're always still inspired by it. We're always grasping the idea of what made this piece successful. That has to be a masterpiece. Yeah. Now, the thing is...
That's what I'm saying. It takes a lot of time.
It does take a lot of time. But I think what makes something more interesting is this, though. Is this a masterpiece because we really connect to it and we believe it's a masterpiece? Or is it a masterpiece because it's being pushed down our throat and being told to us that it's a masterpiece?
I mean, I feel like it really depends. Like, when it comes to, like classical art, we can bring it back to that. There's a lot of people that's determining this is a masterpiece is by, like, you know, critiquers or like art critics, and they take all matters into account, just like music critics. It's just like they're like, okay, what's the longevity of this? How memorable is this? What's the techniques and skills that they use to do this compared to all their other works?
Right.
It's like there's not gonna. I feel like most masterpieces not. I know some are downplayed, some don't agree, but ultimately, there is something special about every single one.
That is interesting. That is interesting. Because, you know, we talk about things about, like, you know, mass marketing and things like that. Like, when it comes down to mass marketing, do you think that sometimes things that's marketed as a masterpiece or constantly promoted has all this big backing? Like, It could be like, for example, in music or within film where you're always pushing this down our throats to believe, yeah, bro, this is special. When it might not even be that special in the first place.
Well, it consider what are your terms of special? Like, I feel like Akira is a masterpiece because Akira, the animated film, because when it came out, it was like, do you know how much work they put into the direction, the directing behind it, the cinematography, how many frames per second they're using, also how widespread it was around the world. It was the first anime film to be around the world to that level, and it also influenced a lot of films afterwards. So that's why I consider that a masterpiece.
That's interesting.
And out of his whole career, that's.
I'm gonna throw you a little curveball though. I think I know the successful movie of all time is Avatar. Mm-hmm. Will you call Avatar a masterpiece?
The first Avatar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think it's a masterpiece.
I don't think it's a masterpiece because, bro,
but
when's the last time you watched that movie?
Last time I watched it? Probably 2 years ago.
Bro, I probably only ever watched that movie within the time that it came out, and I'm pretty sure it was like 2012. But I wouldn't call that a masterpiece at all. I would not.
You wouldn't consider it a masterpiece?
I would think that it made a lot of cinematic improvements. It did a lot of things when it came to CGI and how important, like, and how it showed what CGI should be and what it could be. So it made took a lot of big steps forward. But I wouldn't call it a masterpiece of a film. It's not nothing that we come back to and like, no, like, dude, Avatar, bro. Avatar was a cinematic genius. It did this and the third. No, but when we look at things like Goodfellas, when we look at things like Groundhog Day, a lot of different movies, like bro, like this is what a movie could be. This is what a movie should be. I love this message. This is a masterpiece.
But I feel like there's so many things you gotta take into account. Like, I bet you right now we could ask more people like, oh, have you seen Avatar? Have you seen Goodfellas? Most people probably seen Avatar. But also, I feel like a lot of people can get more of an opinion on that compared to Goodfellas. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Goodfellas is not a great film or anything, but I think there's a lot of things to take into account.
I think it's about like, I feel as though like when it comes to a masterpiece, you really can't say that's a masterpiece. I don't think it's nothing checking off any boxes.
Not any boxes?
Just technical, but at the end of the day, that's just budget. That's budget wise.
Yeah.
I would just say that for that. But let's get off movies for a little bit.
Yeah.
For example, when it comes down to fine art and things like that, when it comes down to fine art, will you say that the fine art that we're told about and we're taught are masterpieces versus things that we haven't learned about, or is more about made by smaller cultures?
That's the thing, though. Like, a lot of times, I feel like it's not like we took our history class together. It's not that, like, this piece is this is a masterpiece. Excuse me. This is a masterpiece. So I feel like it's kind of hard to determine because we don't necessarily know what are considered masterpieces. But I'll tell you one thing, though. If I name an artist like Leonardo da Vinci, what's the first thing you think about?
The Mona Lisa.
All right. Picasso.
Well, I don't really know anything. I don't even.
Right, yeah, you probably don't know. But point is like an artist that you do know, and you know their work, you're gonna think of one piece that comes to mind. And I feel like it is considered a masterpiece because when it comes down to what that is, it's like, yeah, there are. That's why I mentioned the first thing. There are elements where it's like impacting a culture, but sometimes it's a masterpiece to their career as well. Like, I think everyone does have a masterpiece in their own career, especially if they gave their life to it.
But also, I think culturally, we have cultural masterpieces. If I grew up in another culture, I never heard about the Mona Lisa. I never knew about any of that. I just knew about my culture. I would not look at that and be like, bro, that's a masterpiece. More likely, I would not. But
is it not a masterpiece in classical art?
In classical art, I would say yes. So you think when it comes down to it, we should be having more of refined definitions of what type of masterpiece it is?
It's very open. It's very loose.
Yeah.
And I definitely do, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, even if we, like, mention the Avatar thing, if you talk about, like, when it comes to, like, CG.
Yeah, CGI.
That shit's crazy.
For sure. Do you think you have the capability to create a masterpiece someday?
Yeah.
And you don't think you have already?
I have not.
But you do. Is that, like, a goal of yours?
It's not a goal of mine.
But it's something
I can't say that
I'm
not possible. I can't say it's not possible.
Do you think making a masterpiece is a stumble upon? It's not like set.
It's a stumble upon.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, well, I would have to agree and disagree because I feel like depending on what you're going for, if you're like, this has never been done before, and you figure out all the pieces and components to make this work, and people after you can't replicate, and it's not even just like like I tell you right now, there's a lot of 3D films where it came out and then the next person's like, oh, let me take this and they can enhance it and they can enhance it. And there's some that they take it, it's like, damn, I don't know how they did that. And it takes them a while to catch up.
Is there a difference between a classic and a masterpiece?
Actually, that's a good one.
That is a good question, because I'm just thinking about this. We look at albums like College Dropout, Late Registration, Kanye West albums, early things. A lot of people say these are classics.
Well,
versus maybe a masterpiece. You might be right. You might have to die or like pass on, because now like Kanye West is still they're these albums are fairly old, but they're not very old. It's not like 100 years has gone by that people are still listening to this. So maybe it's just maybe we only experience classics within this time, but in the future, if this music and this type of artwork is still being consumed to a high degree, maybe it is a masterpiece to that degree. Because how long ago was the Mona Lisa made?
I don't know.
I don't even know off the top of my head, but it definitely is over 100 years.
I mean, I would say though,
way over 100 years.
I would say that the thing is, it's like this is what I was mentioning earlier when I was saying like, I feel like people can't have multiple masterpieces because now that you introduce the word classic, I like to rephrase that I think people can have multiple classics that hit and help you learn and inspire you that go down generational.
Right.
But I feel like when you look at their whole careers, like, yeah, this was a classic, but this was their
masterpiece for sure. For sure. Now, I was thinking about something like, bro, what do we call this album? But that's a classic. Okay, so there's a difference between, we can both agree, there's a difference between a classic and a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And I think you can have many classic pieces of artwork within any type of medium. But when it comes to a masterpiece, that takes a lot of work. That takes a lot of like your study. And that's when everything comes together perfectly that captures who you are as an artist and also captures an audience.
What do you think are... Actually, I'm curious. What do you think are some classics that impact your life, and what do you think is a masterpiece? One, just give me one though. That like one masterpiece, but 3 classics.
All right, boss. I want to say this. I guess a classic captures an audience within its period of time.
Yeah.
But a masterpiece captures an audience within a timeless period of time. It's timeless how long it sticks around. I think we're onto something, bro.
Yeah,
but what was your question again? My bad.
I was gonna ask you, what is something to you that are 3 classics that you feel like are classics that impacted you creatively, and then one masterpiece that just blew you out the water?
Okay, that's a good question. It depends, bro. This answer can change all the time.
Yeah.
But right now,
your opinion.
I talked about it, so I just say Goodfellas is a classic to me. Take Care is a classic to me. Is a classic album to me that I love. And To Pimp a Butterfly is a classic to me that I love and I actually cherish.
Yeah.
And I think I know I was inspired by it in a lot of different ways. And a lot of times when I'm doing photography and stuff like that, just like maybe a track in my head just play in my head, you know, like when it comes to anything, you know, the art of peer pressure or whatever, even though that's not even from To Pimp a Butterfly. But yeah, bro, like it just plays in my head. But I think a masterpiece that I love.
It's a hard one.
That is a hard one. You know what? I'm just gonna use another song here because I mean, of course, I can say the Mona Lisa, I can say anything, but
to you, like,
I honestly think the song Bohemian Rhapsody is a masterpiece.
Okay.
I think that's a masterpiece.
Okay.
That song is so unique. It's so different. It's so special. It's a masterpiece.
Speaking of musicians, all right, I don't want to put you on the spot, but what do you think is Michael Jackson's masterpiece? Because I don't know why I was thinking about this, but it's just like all his songs, because there's a lot of classics. I'll tell you right now.
Why doesn't know one Michael Jackson song? That's a good question.
Well, you got a couple. I want to love you, a P.Y.T.
Pretty young thing. You need some loving.
You got
and
that.
I got you, girl.
You got I'm Bad. You know, you got so
I have to go Rock With You, though. I think Rock With You is a song that I always go back to. It's something that I look for. It's a love language of mine.
Can't get tired of it.
It's a love language of mine, honestly. Like, they want to rock with somebody. Just want to just build. Just want to dance with somebody that's special to you.
I'm going to dance right after this one.
You want to dance after this?
We're gonna dance after this.
That's great. How about you? What's some classics that touched you, as well as a masterpiece that touched you? You always said Akira's a masterpiece to you.
Akira is a masterpiece to me. He's not dead. It's not past his time, but I'm sorry.
It has to be.
It has to be a masterpiece for me. Unless he comes up with something new. I feel like Spirited Away is a classic. I believe that's a classic film. This is hard.
It is hard.
You know what? Now, here's the thing about Kim Jong-gi has created a piece that I do believe is a masterpiece, but the thing is I don't really know the names, I just know the visually. So I know Kim Jong-gi has definitely had a masterpiece. I gotta tell you that after, look it up and figure out what that is. But and I would say like it's hard to say like artistically because I'm influenced by so much.
Right. Music, cinema, fine art. You're influenced by so much.
So much.
It's hard, bro.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of one piece that I go back to. I can't. So I can't really do art, but I'm gonna have to leave it there. I'm gonna have to say Spirited Away is a classic. I'm gonna have to say I have to agree with you. To Pimp a Butterfly is a classic.
I think it's on its way to becoming a masterpiece at some point.
Yes. And I would have to say that Akira is a masterpiece for me.
Mm-hmm. You know, I feel that when it comes to a masterpiece, you know it's going to be timeless when time feels as though it already stopped. Once that dropped and people got to consume,
you know what?
Whatever it is.
What's that song? Never Too Much. Dun, dun,
Never Too Much about who?
Luther Vandross.
Oh, that is.
Yeah.
That is. And I feel though that's actually a masterpiece in the black community for sure. Pretty good episode. You think you said everything you want to say?
I feel like we should just dance.
Let's just dance. Let's cut this one different.
We dancing bachata?
I'm down with that.
You know bachata music?
Yeah. Put some Prince Royce on here.
It's getting too sexual.
I know. Come on. Bro, this is gonna be actually a funny episode, bro. When they see like that. Alright, let's take a video. I mean a picture. Alright.